Adventures in Mortuary Archaeology and Commemoration. It's Archaeodeath.
I thought the review was due, really, in a sense, and of course you have all booked to stay for another hour, haven't you? The review element is we've been looking back since we are now here gathered again after this huge, it feels like to me a huge interval since can you all remember January 2020? Different world that we lived in at that point. So, it's worth actually, I think, just reprising a little how we got to where we are. I should actually, first of all, own up that there actually is no one else to blame apart from me for this C word. And just to give you a little background to that, I was in 2015 or 16. I was from 2014 onwards through to 2016. I was involved in helping to establish a new university in Hereford, and as part of that, the team that were initially together to do that went to America. We went to Massachusetts, to Boston, and we met people who were in what we would probably think of as liberal arts colleges rather than universities, and they were basically trying to revolutionise engineering teaching, and they had to create a network in the greater Boston area that would make everybody feel involved at different levels. So whether they were donors, whether they were people who were university administrators wanting to set up complementary courses at different. Anyway, it was a hugely complex thing. And they mentioned this word, collaboratory. And I said, well, what's that? I never heard of it. And they said, well, it's about collaboration, but it's also about experimentation. It's about doing different things differently. So the laboratory part of it is quite deliberate. And it only took me 2 years to convince the other conveners who I brought together that this was actually a viable thing. And of course you agree now that it isn't a viable thing, but we're stuck with it, so we'll continue just now. It's a network, fundamentally. We could have called it the Offa's Dyke network, but somehow that didn't quite capture the kind of innovative side of what we hoped would emerge here. We couldn't have directors, but we could help to convene activity. You needed a group of people who would get together and in a range of different of spheres would try to encourage one another and then go out to a wider public. The membership, as Howard was saying, he didn't mention the big machine, which is actually the website, and all that he did in relation to that, in addition to Archaeodeath and all the other media things that Howard is involved in. Yeah, managing the website, having people write in and share thoughts. Nothing more formal than that. But it formed a hub, and that hub is essential to any collective and collaborative endeavour. So, again, I'm here taking credit or brickbat, whichever you like, for the word, but the machine has been Howard's enthusiasm and energy. Membership, you just write in. That was the simple principle that we adopted right from the beginning. You don't need to have a subscription. You just join in and say, oh, that sounds interesting, sign me up. Here's my email address. And outputs. Howard's already been talking about that. So that's just wallpaper, but it's a very nice view of the Vale of Montgomery. A brief history. Oh my goodness, this is a history lesson. So we had a few informal meetings. We invited prospective conveners, and as I said, as broad a range as we possibly could. And then we had a foundational meeting. Is anybody here who was at the foundational meeting?
In
Shropshire? Yes, in Shrewsbury. You were there. You're going to have trouble denying because you're in this photograph coming in. so then Dave was becoming particularly active. He's always been active since he moved down from the north in the Offa Dyke Association. But it was clear that the ODA had capacity, along with Clear Power Psychological Trust, to be one of the dynamos of the whole process. So we had the conference, kindly hosted by CPAT, in Welshpool, and then the journal comes out and away we go. So this is how I phrased it in a paper that I circulated in advance of that first meeting, and what I call the informing rationale. A confederation of organisations, agencies and individuals who would agree that it would be a good idea to work independently but to collaborate on occasion and where relevant and possible, and to conduct research projects and conservation programmes not as the Offa Dyke Collaboratory, but as a group of people who are broadly interested in the themes, and we've covered many of them today. So here's the incriminating photograph. Where are you?
Brown jacket.
Brown jacket.
To the left.
Oh, I don't know. I can see. Actually, it's interesting how many people who are here or were here earlier haven't put their hands up. Bob. Bob Sylvester. Yeah. So yeah, there he is. Brown jacket. So yeah, we collected together, I think it was about 60 people, and a great deal of curiosity, some enthusiasm, and but a willingness to take it forward, to see where it was, and thanks again to Howard gets it in the Offa Dyke Journal 1. Benefits. I just started to outline what advantages there were to having this kind of informal network, and what I termed here Big Tent, which I'm really always very keen on. I mentioned already the value I place on the local and getting people involved who have a local and detailed perspective. Brief history too, so we're getting on. We started to more fully engage with Cardiff. COVID along. One subsequent meeting, but no further meetings. And yet, as Howard's just pointed out, the journal keeps coming out each year, thanks to his efforts and others like Ben Guy, who were happy to step up and say, actually, this is a good vehicle for something which was an academic and virtual conference in that case, because it was right in the midst. So the papers that appear in volume 4 are the product of an entirely online conference in a completely new format that was strange to all of us who are participating. Zoom, what's that? Teams, what's that? So it was arranged, organised, and conducted, and then we actually had the product that we could share with the world. So, next in prep. And this is just an example of the mechanism that we put behind meeting in between Offa Dyke Collaboratory general meetings. So these are people who were coming together on a named date in a named place and talking about what might go forward. You've seen a version of that already. What has then gone on is that we've, I hope, relatively quietly gone on and taken it out into the landscape, looked at different parts of the landscape. But this is something I really want to emphasise for everybody, and that is keeping questioning. Don't accept that we absolutely have the answers or that we know things. It's cumulative. The work you've seen reported on using this sophisticated combination of dating techniques, fundamentally underpinned by a huge amount of experience from field archaeologists. That is the ingredient. It's not whiz-bang, Mr. Science. It's actually all about how you pull in different kinds of materials, different kinds of techniques, and at the end, though, the fundamental is the archaeological interpretation. And so we have to go and keep questioning the landscape and the features that are out there in the landscape, and not assuming that everything is known. So, yeah, the key question, how do you pull all of these things together? And I would say that, yes, you absolutely need a hub, and Howard, the whole idea of proposing to continue providing that hub, I'm awestruck by it, because I know how much work is involved. If anybody's trying to ever edit anything, it's a hugely complex task, and then to run that in parallel with a whole digital face, it's not to be treated lightly. So collaboration and support is vital, and Dave has very much stepped up to the plate on behalf of the OBA, and one of the things that he's been promoting is the whole idea of extending the membership. Now, why is that important? Why is it important to extend the membership of the Offa's Dyke Association? We need hubs. We need organisations that have freedom of movement. And those of us who either have been or are actively involved in the heritage conservation industry, if you like, we know how incredibly difficult a lot of the constraints that are put on us. And Helen has alluded. She didn't go into. She made it actually sound really, not easy, but really possible in ways that it often feels that it's impossible to make progress. But we know that those constraints are there, and they're operating at all levels. They're operating financially, they're operating organisationally. Sometimes they are simply willful pursuit of political agendas, which are actually inimical to us to be successful. So I can say that now because I'm in a university and everybody knows they're doomed, so that's all right. So yes, the journal is absolutely vital. It is part of the DNA, if you like. Sorry to use that term, it's overused, but they are part of what makes the collaboratory work, and the journal and the collaboratory, I think, have to operate hand in hand, except that we must understand that the collaboratory is a network. It's not an organisation. There is no organisation that is the Offa's Dyke Collaboratory. There's an enterprise, if you like, that is the Offa's Dyke Collaboratory. So, reasons to be cheerful. One, I always think that this is, of course, a contradiction in terms if you talk about optimism and government in the same breath. But there is a commitment, in principle, on behalf of a number of organisations, to be supportive of the Dyke, to be supportive of the activities, including research, and to support the ongoing existence of the path, which is, after all, the thing that these days advertises the existence of Offa's Dyke. Revitalised ODA, yes, because becoming a CIO absolutely expands the scope for action within the charitable sector. And in fact, nowadays, to run a charity and not be a CIO is actually getting an increasingly difficult task. And the Charities Commission are not the easiest body to deal with. They are much more concerned with anti-corruption than with encouragement of enterprise and novelty and innovation. But they are there, and let's hope they continue being there, because they can serve as a regulatory, but also as a supportive organisation. So Dave has taken a lot of good advice from the Charities Commission. My colleague has given you as big an introduction as he can. Charles has laid out for you in the time available the kinds of things that that we want to do with the research project. You are going to hear, if you want to remain engaged with this process, with the Collaboratory, with the association, you are going to hear a lot about this project. It'll be, oh no, not that again, you know, because it is diverse, it's covering the whole frontier, it's focusing on the frontier and not the Dyke, which is actually the message of the journal. So it's a hanger, if you like, to hang it on Offa's Dyke, but it's actually much broader than that. And then fundamentally, the continuing support from local communities, which means very largely you, because I think in this room we have a very good cross-section of people, some professionals, but a lot of people who are here purely because they are interested in the abstract, and in practical terms, in the enigma that Offa's Dyke remains. And you know, if you come into the Collaboratory thinking that what is going to happen is that we are going to solve the enigma of Offa's Dyke, it is now time to leave the room. What we're going to do is we're going to chip away at a problem that has vexed generations of antiquarians, historians, archaeologists, and those of them, naming no names, those of them who have come up with the solution, and they have solved all the problems of Offa's Dyke, they should have left the room before they published, because it is not that straightforward. It's a whole complex collection of sites, monuments, features, artifacts, as Pauline has emphasised. And it's in the very worst period that you can choose to investigate in British archaeology.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to contradict me, do. But, you know, it's not easy at all. We do get little tiny breakthroughs, and I like to think that some of our work will lead to investigations that expand our sense of what's going on in the frontier rather than narrow them down. We want to know, you know, why are they? It may be just a local tradition, like it was in the northern part of Watts Dyke, where they started calling it Offa's Dyke at some point, and managed then to confuse everybody. And you know, maybe this is all red herring territory. It may be something that's just a local aberration. But if you don't look, you won't find. So, suggestions for the way forward. I think we need to survey the people who have signed up and the people who might sign up to become members of the Collaboratory. Any of you who have been in touch with Howard and have said, yes, I'd like to receive information about what's happening, you are all members. And so you have a voice, because there's this a network. There's no hierarchy or structure. There are people that we've brought together as conveners simply because you need a group who will occasionally meet and say, yeah, I think it would be a good idea to have a meeting. So once again, we're talking about actually actively having some kind of event with the Offa Dyke Association, particularly because I have a sense that you might want to find out what are the possibilities that having this new revived and expanded CIO of the Offa Dyke Association, what opportunities does it produce? And I would submit it produces a lot of possibilities, because they are not constrained by the same kinds of things that many of us institutionally are. Howard, don't take this badly. I think, you know, there are limits to everybody's energy, and we need people to step up and help Howard, and eventually, yes, to take over the onerous job, so that he can have an exit strategy. It doesn't need to feel, oh, that's 20. It was 2038, wasn't it? You put on that
48.
48. Okay. Anyway, so those are reasons to be cheerful, and I'll end on that note.
For relaxing times, make it Archaeodeath time.